Hey everyone, welcome into DomTime. It's that night of the week where we do our weekly roundup, all those stories that we may have not devoted a full show to. We break them down with some great local pundits. Joining me tonight is Chris Brennan. He's the political editor at the Philadelphia Daily News. He co-founded the popular PhillyClout.com blog and writes the weekly Clout column. And he featured me, I think, one week 3 or 4 times in there, which was quite a week. And old friend John Featherman with us. John is a columnist for Philly.com. And I want to start, John, with your most recent essay coming off Trayvon Martin. If you don't talk about Trayvon Martin, they whisk you out of here for talk radio and TV malpractice. You read about Mayor Nutter going on national TV some months back and saying that Trayvon was assassinated. So what's wrong with that word, and what beef do you have with Mayor Nutter in the Trayvon Martin case?
Well, there was actually, Chris Rock actually had a skit where he talked about Tupac Shakur being assassinated, and he said he wasn't assassinated. He said he was shot. He used another expletive in there. But the point is, going back to May of 2012, Michael Nutter jumped the gun, so to speak, and made a remark without really any of the facts, saying that Trayvon Martin was assassinated. And he did this on national TV when he was, quote, going on tour. I think, quite frankly, trying to audition for a spot in the Obama administration, which never happened. But nonetheless, he comes out now over the weekend in a more conciliatory tone, urging people to be calm. But the laughable part is he talked about now how we have to focus on education because education is the cure to poverty and violence. But it's funny because in the term that Michael Nutter has served so far, it has taken an event like this for him to even talk about it, but there's a total disconnect between his words and his actions.
What should he be doing? Because I differ with you. Isn't his legacy going to be lowering the dropout rate and upping the college graduate rate?
If he really wants to do something about public schools, and keep in mind, I'm a Republican with libertarian leanings. Under his paradigm, under his Democratic paradigm, he's got to be fighting Governor Corbett right now, getting more money, making sure that he has this $2 cigarette tax passed, feeding the schools more money, and potentially getting local control over the school board through a locally elected school board.
All right, let me bring in Chris Brennan. What's your take on Michael Nutter and this and his leadership and overall, Nutter seems to have, Chris, been kind of visionless. I mean, he just doesn't seem to have his imprint on too much here.
He has been buffeted by just terrible economic factors for most of his 2 terms. But I agree that he looks like a guy still in search of his vision. There was a lot of talk when he was running for, when he was working with the Obama campaign to help the president win a second term, that he was auditioning for a term. And that wasn't actually the case. There was not going to be a spot for him in D.C., but he is trying to build a larger brand for whatever comes next for him. Branding is great, but if you don't have a record to run on for whatever comes next, that's a real problem for him. Now, going to, it's easy to say he should go to Harrisburg and fight Governor Corbett, but you got to remember that Harrisburg is a place where the Republicans control both sides of the General Assembly, and for the most part, they are not fond of Philadelphia. And so you can go out there with ideas, but if you don't work within the system out there, you can't really fight Harrisburg for money for schools. You have to ask.
Let's talk about Harrisburg and what I think is the big story, despite Trayvon Martin here, for all of us that are in Pennsylvania area, and that's Kathleen Kane in spades in so many different ways, the woman who burst into this. The gay marriage is aside, that in my view, she's not fulfilling her oath of office. Do you have a sense of how, but people seem to be mixed about this. A lot of people seem to support her.
Well, it's a very partisan issue, true. There are, I think by now there's 68 members of the state house that have signed on to a letter saying that they are deeply troubled by her decision on enforcing
politically,
the states.
What does this do with Tom Corbett? I see that he goes with his base and he defends against this gay marriage lawsuit, right?
Yeah, I think that that's right. This is an issue. If you look at the polling, the gay marriage polls better with female voters, and Tom Corbett does very badly with female voters. So this is something that if he plays to his base, it will go badly for him with female voters. But
Right.
things are already going badly there anyway.
So, John, you wrote a column, Philly.com,
I did.
another one about Kathleen Kane,
I did.
and I was a little bit knowing where you're going with this one. What's your take on it?
Well, I supported Kathleen Kane, and how about this? I actually tried to help David Freed defeat her last year. I
Well, how
voted
can
for
you
David
support a
Freed.
woman, though, John, that's not following her oath of office?
Because when I looked at other people around the country, I found Republican AGs and Republican district attorneys that had done similar things, either by not hearing a case, by delegating it to someone who was, not a really good attorney, or by doing something else not to hear the cases in states that have very strong gun control laws, that have very strong abortion rights access laws. I didn't have all of them in that article, but I've compiled a list.
Well, they're wrong,
so you
too.
Can't be, well,
They're wrong,
someone
too.
can
They're all
say,
wrong. I mean, we
someone
want
can
people
say
to
that
follow
they're
the
wrong.
law.
But let me tell you something. Isn't it a conservative approach? Isn't it a conservative position to say that if you think that something's unconstitutional,
No.
why should we
Wait,
fight this battle?
Wait a minute. You're not a judge. You're not a
You're not a judge.
legislature.
No,
There's
you're
three
not a judge
branches
at
of
all.
government.
You're part of the executive branch.
You don't get to
But
think
what
that.
she did, all she did was she said, you know what? I've got a conflict of interest.
Quit.
I can't hear it. I'm not quitting. I'm going to let
She
the
ought to
general
quit.
counsel.
I think
I'm letting the general
I
counsel
think we're
do it.
missing an element of the story here, in that this did not arise, all by itself.
Right.
What happened was the Supreme Court ruled that the Defense of Marriage Act, which Bill Clinton signed into law, was unconstitutional. The ACLU, anticipating that ruling, was set up to attack Pennsylvania's anti-gay marriage law.
Right.
So, and then she said, based on what the Supreme Court had done, that she could not defend this because it was unconstitutional. She was one of several people sued by the ACLU.
Right.
The governor's won. The governor's office has a long history, both Democrats and Republicans, of hiring outside counsel to handle issues. So, I don't think that.
What does her office say, though? You two guys, I'm missing something. Her office says she will execute the laws of the state. She will defend them. And I'm here to tell you, Chris, doesn't this undercut the suit if it goes on to appeal? Here, the Attorney General has said this is unconstitutional.
Yeah, no, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
Very much the same way the Solicitor General's office in the Obama administration would not defend DOMA when it came to the Supreme
Right.
Court.
Who defends me and you and you're all citizens in Pennsylvania? Who defends us if it comes to that? She's the people's attorney, essentially.
Well, the governor has a
Right.
counsel's office.
But I think this is going to undercut.
It could.
John? No?
Loving v. Virginia. I'm married to a woman of a different color, different ethnicity. If I lived in Virginia before 1967, that would have been illegal. That would have been
But
illegal.
it's not
in a
about gay
situation.
marriage, though.
No, but it's about whether a law is unjust, whether a law is illegal.
And who gets to decide that? The courts and the legislature?
The federal
answer is
government.
yes.
Yeah, he's right. Whoever wants to. But the federal government has made that decision. And we're going to be wasting a lot of money on this.
All right, more coming up, including Jenny McCarthy joins the view. What is that about here on DomTime? We'll explain straight ahead.